Okay, this is going to be a quick tutorial demonstration on how to do an assignment called reflection. Uh, Again, we're using text to begin with. After you do this example, you can incorporate an image as well. Um, I've seen students do text and image. So let's get into it. I'm going to go to File and then New. Now, what we're going to type out is kind of really long and horizontal. So we're going to go 6 inches, 3 inches. And let's go ahead and make the resolution on this kind of high. So we're going to go 300. You can go ahead and put a title on this, Reflections. And everything else is good. Make sure you're on inches, okay? All right, okay. So we have a white background, and let's convert that to black. So we can do that is hit the little crooked arrow. Let me get my cursor, a big green arrow. And so we got black selected. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. So let's go to our bucket. We're going to fill that in with black. All right, so we're going to go to our text tool. And let's go ahead and use Gill Sans. We used that on our last assignment for bricks as well. I'm going to go with bold. And 48 seems to work well for this. I already just practiced this before I started recording this. So we're going to select a different color. We're going to go with, let's say, kind of a, not quite pink, but not quite a darker red as that. Something a little lighter. I think that'll show up on that red. I mean that black, sorry. I'm going to click OK. So I'm going to come over, I'm going to type in here reflections. Put a caps lock on. So it'll be all caps, reflections. Okay. Hit the little check. Now to move it, we want to center it. Hit the move tool. Just kind of center that a little bit. I want it like middle, maybe a little higher than middle. Like this is kind of the middle from here to here. And right now it's just a little above, but I want to make the sides even. So let's push this over a little bit. I could even use my right and left arrow keys while I'm using the move tool. So I'm happy with that. Okay. So we're going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to come down and drag this and to the little square with the folded up corner on it. Now, with that, we have a duplicate here, but I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and I'm going to flip vertical. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is move that below the text that's there. It's just directly on top. You can hold the Shift key and then click with the trackpad one finger and use the other finger to drag down. Now, to get that directly up under, if I release everything, the trackpad and the Shift key, I can now use my up and down arrow to help kind of nudge this into contact. Okay, so now we have no space in between. So use the up and down arrows to do that. All right, so we're getting ready to do something kind of fancy here. We're going to make this not just a reflection like this, but we want to make it look like, let's say this surface is horizontal and this is sitting on that surface, and then it's kind of, most reflections turn out to be a dimmer version of what's being reflected. And then also it's going to have some of a perspective distortion, like this is straight up, but the surface it's sitting on should kind of come out at an angle this way to have some kind of perspective on it, okay? So that's what we're going to strive for. So we have this layer selected. we're going to come down to this, which we've never really used before. It's called add a layer mask. So that's going to put a layer mask on this. Now it's something we're going to use again in the future. All right, and so what we're going to mask over this text is we're going to mask a gradient. So we need to come over to our bucket tool, select our gradient tool, and make sure you have this white to black gradient. Now earlier I was doing this, and by default this sort of what's it called? The radial gradient was defaulted, selected. So I had to go back and select this. So I don't know what yours might default to select or come up as, but make sure you do this one, okay? Just the linear gradient, okay? So my best luck on this has been for me to go just above and just below the bottom text, just above the top text. I'm going to click one finger on the trackpad, drag down directly with the other finger, and then release, and then you can see what happens. Now, if I raise this up higher and then don't come down very low, you can see I get different effects. If I come down lower here, go out here, it just, you gotta play with it. What I found was just above the top reflection word and just below the bottom reflection word seemed to give me a good gradient quality. So usually reflections are a little more concentrated, a little bit right at the contact of right up underneath where it's been reflected onto the surface, and then it sort of fades out, much like a cast shadow. Okay. All right. So feel pretty good about that. It does feel like a reflection, but it doesn't have the perspective to it. Okay. So we're going to have to do something kind of special to all this. Just had to learn myself. I had to Google it because I didn't have it on my instructions from previously. We're going to select the text over here, and then we're going to click on this layer. Okay, come over to the gray of the layer, two finger touch on your trackpad, and then you're going to go to convert to smart object. Okay, so you can kind of see what that did. That took the what was that? The layer mask and kind of applied it. So now it's one the same. It kind of dimmed this out a little bit, which I'm not too happy about, but still looks okay. So we'll go with that. Okay. If I had to back up again, maybe I would try to do something a little bit more to keep that, because let me undo and I'll show you what I mean. If I go to Command Z, you can kind of see, I'm doing Command Z back and forth. You can kind of see how it dims out. So let me do this. Let me try to see if I can get this maybe a little more less gradated, so that then when I come over and I do the smart object, maybe I don't lose so much. See, now it feels better. So I had to extend my gradient a little bit further down. Anyway, just play with it. All right. So the reason we had to make this a smart object, okay, is because we're going to go up to Edit, Transform, and Distort. Had we not done that smart object option, we couldn't have used this distort feature. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to now distort this. Now, thinking back now, I might have, anyway, let's go ahead and grab down here at this corner and drag outwards. Now you're going to see something kind of funny happen. If I come down like this, you see how the letters get off. So I've got to keep the letters lined up underneath, just like you look at the I and the T. So but I'm going to come stretching out this way. I got to bring it back up to line up those letters right up underneath in contact with one another. So essentially I'm just going straight out. I can't go down at all, really. I just got to go kind of straight out. If I go down to go up and try to line those back up again, And there we go. Now that is correct. Now if I can hit return, and there we go. Okay. Now that feels pretty good. That looks pretty good. I was just thinking before when I got fumbled up there for a second. Basically, we're done. That looks good. But I want to back up. Okay. I'm going to just hold tight. I'm going to go Command Option Z, and I'm going to try something real quick. All right. While I have the T selected, and before I've done the Smart tool, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, or Free Transform. So I'm going to stretch this down just a little bit, and I'm going to have to drag it back up. I want this letter to look a little more stretched out. Okay, so I'm going to hit return. Now I'm going to come over here and do the Smart object. And now I'm going to come over to the Edit, Transform, Distort, and then do that. You decide how far out to the left or right you've got to drag these, whatever feels comfortable to you. You kind of want to do it equal on each side though. All right. I got a little off right there, but let's just redo that. Image, edit, transform, distort. Let's see if I can keep those lined up a little bit better. Those white lines are kind of in the way. It's kind of hard to see. All right. A little better. If I go to the move tool, move it over just a little bit, nudge it. Okay, cool. All right. So what I did was, it was okay the way it was. I just transformed and like stretched it out a little bit more because I can't stretch it out when I do the distort. So I wanted to pull it outwards a little bit further before I did the Smart tool, the Smart conversion or whatever it's called. So, okay, you didn't have to go through all that process to go back and do the transform, stretch it out, whatever. As long as you get the distort and get it stretched out this way, get these kind of lined up pretty good. That's all I'm looking for that you can do. Now I want to show you one other thing. This kind of on black, it looks kind of lost. With yours, you can do whatever background you want to do. As far as I want you to do a solid color, and you could do green, you could do yellow, whatever you want to do. But I'm just going to show you real quick. I'm going to select the background. I'm going to add a new layer, and then I'm going to fill it in with white with the bucket tool. Whoops. And do the bucket tool, and then see what that looks like. So it can look really different, your reflection, depending on your background color that you choose. Now, I've seen, again, students use images in this. You can do just a word if you want to, but you can do a word and image. Now, I will show you examples of that if I can find some. Okay. So once you're done with that, of course, you're going to go to File, Save As. We've already got reflections typed in. Make sure it has the PSD. You're going to save that to your folder on the desktop. And then you're going to come back and you're going to then save it as a JPEG and turn it into JPEG. Okay. All right. We're done.